It's 2:00. It's time for the Murray RDA meeting to start. First on our agenda is approval of the September 21st, 2020 RDA meeting minutes. Are there any additions or deletions?
Nope.
If not, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for September 21st for the RDA.
Do I have a second? Thank you. We've been first and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments? Oh, yeah. We don't have any citizen comments. I want to excuse Diane. I overlooked that. Excuse Diane. She's excused from the meetings today. All right. Next, we have a discussion to consideration of approving a regular meeting schedule, 2022 RDA meeting dates. Melinda Greenwood.
As you know, every year we need to adopt a meeting schedule, and we do this prior to the year ending. So I have given you the draft meeting date schedule for 2022 for the RDA. It does coincide with the city council meeting dates, and we just would present that to you. If it looks okay, we just would do a motion of approval for those dates.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. Are there any questions? I'll look for a motion of approval.
I'll do that. I'll move that we approve the regular scheduled 2022 RDA meeting dates.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Next, we have a discussion and consideration of approving a resolution exercising Utah State Code 17C-1-416, extension of collection period for project area impacted by COVID-19, extending the Central Business District collection period for 2 additional years from 2035 to 2036. Melinda.
Thank you. This is not news, but we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and the last legislative session, the legislature adopted a law that would allow for a 2-year extension for any project areas that were impacted by the pandemic, and allow that tax increment to be collected for an additional 2 years past the current date of expiration. We have looked internally at our RDA project areas and feel like the Central Business District would be the one that we would say has been impacted negatively by COVID. And so we are recommending that the RDA board approve a resolution of extending that time frame. This Central Business District right now, the tax collection would conclude in 2034 without any action on the RDA board. This would allow for additional increment to be collected in year 2035 and 2036. The RDA board, if they choose to adopt this resolution, it does not mean that we automatically would receive that additional 2 years of increment. We would have to work 10 years from now, or I guess 14 years from now, with an addition or with an RDA board in place at that time to make sure that they still wanted to add those 2 years into the tax increment collection, and then we would need to notify the taxing districts, all the taxing entities in the county, that we wanted to extend the collection period. So the action that you would today would essentially provide the option for the future RDA board to enact that additional 2 years if they felt like that was something that was necessary and that they wanted to do. There's a few other items that the state statute requires, but it's a fairly simple process, and we feel like this will give the greatest flexibility to the board in the future. And the three main items that we were saying contribute to the negative impacts with the pandemic were the sharp rise that we've had in all of the construction materials, lumber specifically. And we have had some projects in the Central Business District that have been put on hold because of the impacts of the pandemic. And then just the instability that has been caused by the market and all the unknowns. There's always been also been labor shortages. A number of other RDAs across the state have taken action on some of their project areas. So if there's any questions, I would like to try and answer them.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we, let me find that. Consider of approving a resolution exercising Utah State Code 17C-1-14, extension of collection period for project areas impacted by COVID-19, extending the Central Business District collection period for an additional 2 years from 2035 to 2036.
I have a motion to approve the resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And then we have project updates. Melinda.
All right. Well,
Jennifer, would that need to be a roll call vote? I think that would be best for that type of a motion.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. Okay, project updates.
thank you. So the most important thing you need to know is that we submitted the annual report that the state requires to be submitted by November 1st. We submitted that a couple days early, actually. So that report was provided to you in the packet. We will come back in January with the new RDA members on board, and we will present the fine details of that report. But essentially, each year we're required to provide this report to all of the taxing entities and to the county and to the state. And it just details what's gone on in each of our 6 project areas, details how much increment was collected. It details the property tax values and how those have increased over the years. It gives a good kind of historical overview of each of the project areas. So I was pretty proud of myself. We got that in a couple days early. So and then next year, there will actually be some changes to the requirements and dates of when that's reported or when that's due and some of the reporting. But we did get that done for this year. The 48th and State Street project, Eadlin is still continuing its process on their HUD financing. And then we did use the Brownfields Coalition grant to get pre-demolition surveys done on all of the properties that the RDA owns. Those surveys have been completed and we've received those back. And then they are working on finalizing cleanup cost estimate for the contamination of the property over there. I think there was a fueling station there in the past and there's a dry cleaner, so there's a little bit of contamination. So we'll have an idea, hopefully within the next 4 weeks, of what a cleanup cost would be. And then I did want to also let you know that the Jesse Knight Legacy Center over at the ore sampling mill, they're continuing working with the state and kind of going through the approvals that they need to have to move forward with starting to clean up the site. And one of the steps that they recently completed was finding a radiation safety officer to oversee the material removal on that. And so that's kind of a niche market. They were able to find somebody that could do that, and the state's approved that person to serve on their team. So hopefully on that one, again, in the next couple months, we'll start seeing some activity over there. We have notified Think Architecture that we're going to stop negotiating with them on that project. There's been a lot of changes since the RFP was put out in 2018, and considering the amount of time that's lapsed and how much the property value has changed, and also some of the information we received on the contamination on that site as well. We've just decided to part ways. And so Think Architecture was notified of that. And we will regroup with what we want to do with that property after the new year. And then also with the Habitat for Humanity Restore project that we have spoken to you about, previously involved was the Habitat for Humanity, and Michael Brodsky was assisting them with the development plans. That site, because of some of the development constraints over there, the contamination that exists, well, it's right by the rail line, like the architecture, the Think Architecture site. And anyway, there's a lot of contamination. And the process has been really slow with trying to figure out how to remediate that. The UTA owns the property where that contamination exists, and they have certain rules that they have to ensure, basically, that anything that the development, anything that happens through their property, that they're kind of made whole. It's been a very complicated transaction to try and put together. And because of that, Habitat for Humanity and Michael Brodsky has decided that's a site that no longer works for them. We are continuing dialogue with Salt Lake County Housing Connect, which they were the affordable housing element to that. They're still interested in developing the site, but still face those same development impediments that exist over there. So we'll continue dialogue with them to see if there's anything we can do to assist with the contamination cleanup and getting a road connected in, which really is the barrier to trying to have a good amount of residential units over there. So we'll keep talking with them and hopefully be able to bring a project in the future back to the RDA board. So that's really it as far as project updates. If there's any questions on those projects or anything else, I'd love to.
I have a quick question. With working with Salt Lake Housing Connect, does it have to be on that site? Does it have to be that location, or can it be another location within the city?
So the draw that that site has is that the county currently owns it, and so they could essentially get the property at a very good price. If not even, I don't know if there's even, they were just going to maybe transfer that ownership over. There are some other sites that I suppose affordable housing could be located. But that site just had particular appeal because the county owned it. And also it's at least as far as a project, it's not a parcel that's really developable because of the grade change and the access issues that it has. And so there's, with 4500 South, the grade goes well below that property. So there's sloping issues that create challenges for any type of commercial development. So I think it just was an ideal site for that, but I don't think Salt Lake County Housing Connect has looked at any other sites in Murray.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I think that is, that is the end, and we'll adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thanks.